Hello, I'm Peter. I'm the developer of Horizon. Today I want to explain a little bit about what Horizon actually is, what it's good for, and the basic workflow. So here I have a new project. I only have Horizon imported and Snazzy Tools because I always like to have it in the project. It's quite handy. Let's start the example scene. We hit play, and this is what you get with Horizon out of the box. So that's the same example scene as you know it from the web player. It all fits into a web player of 20 megabytes. Quite nice to use only 20 megabytes and get a huge scene like this with a view distance of 50 kilometers. Yeah, Horizon basically is a blanket that covers your entire scene with a hole in the middle where your terrain is placed. So if you disable Horizon and check the difference, it looks like this. So here we have our terrain, and yeah, as you can see, even if you're on the ground level pretty close to the terrain, if you disable Horizon, you lose a lot of, your scene looks just small, and if you're not making an island, a lonely island, this is, without Horizon, it's very, very dull. So Horizon reacts to lighting in real time. We can place hundred thousands of trees with a single draw call, or actually, the mesh limitations of 65,000 vertices. One tree is only 6 vertices, so you can place many trees with just a very few draw calls. The trees have backlighting. Horizon has some nice features like emission, where you can have street lights. You can see there are buildings. We can script it so it reacts to the daytime. So if the time is later, street lights are turned off. If we lower the sun, the street lights and the lights of the buildings go on. We have 4 different layers of Horizon. There you can see some fields, here a different set of mountains, here another set of mountains. Back here in distance we have some sand, desert-like terrain. And of course water on top. Water will flatten the Horizon always, so it automatically cuts riverbeds, and it's all defined by a mask. So if we pause and look at Horizon in the scene view, we can see the geometry density falls off the further we are away from the terrain. Here we have a quite nice density, and the normal map really sells it, so it's still quite low poly. Here we have some colliders that can actually be disabled. You can see the amount of trees is crazy. They are all combined. Horizon comes with a tree placer. You can dock it here, and you can put your own prefabs in this list, but the included trees are already loaded. There are also buildings. They are very, very efficient, small. They're just for the background, so they don't need to be fancy, but they have some nice features like this emission, for example. There are 20 different buildings in there, so you can have quite some nice variety. With the trees we have, how many? I think 24 different trees. They all use one material with an atlas. They use some nice shader tricks with, for example, a backlight map to get this backlighting effect when the sun is behind the trees. Everything can cast and receive real-time shadows. These tree groups, for example, here we have a tree group. Let's frame on it. They all get combined into one object. I show you how this works. For it, we need to have the colliders enabled, so we can have something where we can paint on. We can just create a new object, and we shouldn't do that in play mode. So let's go out of play mode, create new object, and now we can place our buildings. We can close the group, it will be combined, and if we select it, we can convert it back to an editable group, so we can still take these buildings, move them around. What you see here is the grid of Snazzy, so I'll select the group and continue painting, close the group, and we have already nice buildings placed, so we can delete this. For the trees, it works just the same. Create a new group, start painting. Yeah. All these trees will be oriented towards the terrain in the center. So this shader doesn't do any billboarding, and that is one of the reasons why it is really fast. The trees use normal maps to get this 3D look. They react nicely to lighting. So let's, here we have the same thing. We can paint tons and tons of trees. We can change the brush size and really place a lot. Of course we can place it on the bottom, but you shouldn't do that unless you want to. So let's close the group, and we see it's all combined into one. This is how it looks like. It's now one mesh. And let's delete it because we have already nice placed trees. So how is Horizon working with the main objects? Let's deactivate the decoration objects like trees and buildings. Deactivate the colliders, and let's go into the depth of Horizon. So the first thing on your terrain is the transition. This is basically the hole. When we take the terrain and deactivate it, you can see it is just a hole. And you can see now it has this, it doesn't receive any shadows anymore because it needs to have an object below where it can take the shadow information from. Let's deactivate everything and go step by step. So first we have the transition, then we have the first level of displacement, and this first level consists out of 4, 8, 10, 12 planes. You can move them around and they will take the displacement of the Horizon master objects where it's specified here. You can also specify it in the material itself, but the master object here has all the same features nicely arranged and shows only what you need and what you can change actually. And it does it for all objects, for all of its children at once, so you will never have any issues with one object doesn't have the same material settings as another. So let's put this back. 25, 75. Now we can use Snazzy also to move it around, which is quite nice. Let's close this. Here is the second level, and you can see the transition here. Each of these objects is twice as big as the previous level. So if we select this one and its bigger level neighbor, you can see to avoid seams we have a subdivision here on the edge. And that is basically the main trick with Horizon. Each level will be twice as big as the previous one, and they are just duplicates, more or less. So we could take this, I use Snazzy for this, duplicate it and hit Control Scale, and it will be twice as big. And we can duplicate and hit Control Scale, and so we can add more and more levels to it. Let's delete them because we have already ones. So enable more, and the last one, and the very last is the transition towards the sky, which is just flat. And the first and the last levels have they're unique. Their meshes are unique because the UVs are used to bring to lower the displacement towards 0, so we can get a nice transition towards flat. On Horizon, on the Horizon Master, you have all the features that you can control, like, for example, how far you blend the transition, the scale inner. Here you can make a very short or a very big transition. And the same goes for the outside. We can make it very big. Let's say we don't have any displacement levels in there. We can deactivate it and take the transition sky. It's 64,000 meters big. Let's see what this is. This is 1,000. So if we want to connect them, let's make this 1,000 as well. 1,000 and 1,000. And now we have the disk transition sky and transition terrain directly connected. It gives already a nice horizon, very small though. But we can take it here, the scale outer, and bring it up. And we have a nice flat horizon. The way Horizon works, you can take right-click it to create the children, go to Horizon Elements, Blend Meshes, Displaced. Let's pick a patch 1. Oops, I didn't mean to move it upwards. We can use Snazzy to move it around, to rotate it. We can duplicate it, move it over. So in case you don't want to use the complete displaced horizon, you can put the detail exactly where you want it. And it blends nicely. You can see there is no seam whatsoever. And if we take one of these blend meshes and move it on the water, for example, you can see it flattens automatically. We can follow the river or the lake, and it flattens nicely. If we want to have more detail, we can scale it down, put it where we want it, but in most cases the default values are just fine. There is also another type of blend mesh, non-displaced, the hills. These are mainly for mobile, but even for desktop they're quite nice sometimes. Let's click the Horizon parent so it gets refreshed. It will refresh all the children. So we can move this one around, and you can see it's a low poly object which nicely blends. And we can scale it to make it, well, a little bit too much maybe. Oops. But yeah, so much for the blend meshes. if we want to create a horizon from scratch, you can do that. Let's delete everything inside. So we have only our terrain and the horizon master, which is just a container where we can right click horizon elements, create multi-level arrangement, displacement level start, and we can see it places it for us. We do not have a transition yet, so right click horizon elements, multi-level, transition terrain. And we can see we have some C-fighting. This is because the object is on the same height. We can just put it 0.1 above our terrain, and it will look good in the scene view. And if we inspect this object, it has a script. I think by default it's deactivated, so make sure it is active. And it will take the main camera position. That is, if your main camera is tagged as main camera. So we hit play, and let's inspect in the scene view. We can see the transition is placed above the terrain, and basically it looks how high the camera is and raises or lowers it. This is to avoid C-fighting. So let's hit stop again. Right click horizon, go to horizon elements, multi-level arrangement, displacement level regular, and as I mentioned before, we need to scale it twice as big as the previous level. So we could put in 2000, 2000, 2000, and it's seamless. Or let's undo. If we have snazzy grid, we can just control click scale, and it will scale it twice as big. Then we use the duplicate command of snazzy and control click scale again. And we have also the button for duplicate, control click scale, duplicate, control click scale. Maybe now it's time to bring in the horizon displacement level end. This will flatten it to the outside. So control scale, 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 scale. Every time you click it, it will double the scale. One more time, and I think that's it. Am I right, or is it one more time? No, it's good. And now we can say horizon elements, transition sky, and this has the raw material. Let's put the transition sky on it, and control click scale a few times. 64 should be good. Yes, it is. And select the master and bring the scale out to 0. Yeah, and we have recreated the example scene as it was, apart from the trees that we didn't place yet. Let's say you want to have a different position on the horizon. That's very easy to do. You go to horizon, go into the main settings, and here we have the mask. It's an RGBA map, so if we open this up in Photoshop, we can paint water or layer 2, layer 3 and layer 4. Layer 1 is placed everywhere, so this one will be drawn on top of layer 1. This will be drawn on top of layer 2. This will be drawn on top of layer 3. And the water will be drawn on top of everything. So let's go back. We can move it around by offsetting the mask. So even if we place Horizon in the water, it still looks acceptable. But of course you should be careful and decide where is the place where you want to have it. With Horizon you can enable and disable features. So for example, if you're on mobile and you're really limited with your performance, you can disable everything and put it to one layer, and basically this is what you get then. Or you might say, my mobile can, we're supporting more than just iPhone 1 or so. You can have water. And maybe your mobile can handle even more, then you can do specularity, reflections, normal mapping. And you can see there is no beach area or so around the water. This is what I did with the mask. If we go back to Photoshop, we can see I painted this layer. This is the sand layer, the fourth layer. I painted a little white around the water. And this is, if we go back to 4 layers, you can see now the sand. And it looks a little bit low resolution. That is because detail textures are disabled. Let's enable them. And it already looks quite nice again. Okay, I'll wrap up this video here. I guess this gives you a broad overview. I know I scattered a little bit all over the place, but I will try to make more videos on specific things. If you have any questions, just let me know. So thank you for watching and see you soon.